Sometimes it gets hard when we're waiting for a promise to come to pass. Like we've been praying for something, we're waiting for God to deliver on something. And we talk about getting weary in the waiting. But what about when we start to go there in our minds where we think we have to do something in order to receive something from God? Like, for instance, when you need something, say from a person, maybe it's family. If you're a mom and say you need help, with somebody watching your kids while you go to work, but it's always like, yeah, I'll help you if you XYZ, like let me borrow your car for the day, or let me have this, or, give me this amount of money. And sometimes when we're going to God, it may seem like we're not going to get what we need, or we might have to do something to receive what we need because we're regarding the way that people give or the way that people have had their hands tied when it comes to us. And we think that's the same way when it comes to the Lord, and it's not, because God so freely gives, right? He so freely gives to his children. He just asks that we give him our faith, right? He asks that we put whatever it is that we need in his hands and we leave it there, because it's truly better in his hands. He'll make a way when we don't know how to receive what it is. When we don't have a way, of receiving what it is. He'll make a way for us to receive it. But sometimes it's like, well, if I'm, in a place of a need, you have a financial need, you might think that you have to, do a bunch of hard work or do a bunch of tasks or do all these things because maybe you've never been provided for in your life. Maybe the people, your parents, your father, whomever, mother, whoever was assigned to provide for you, didn't do their job or wasn't able to do their job, the way that it was supposed to be done. And you've had to provide for yourself. So when you go to God, or you have a hard time going to God because you don't believe that God can fulfill your needs. You want him to, but it's like this blockage, right? Because we're so used to how people, kind of will help us as long as we are giving them something or they get something out of us. And then a lot of times that stops you from being able to ask for help, right? It's hard to ask for help. You've always had to get it out the mud and you don't know how, to ask for help, but you need it. And so I'm making this message because sometimes the message isn't always, don't get weary in the waiting, but don't think that you have to do something. Don't think that you have to do work in the waiting, right? That you have to work for your blessing. Now, I'm not saying that there's never going to be work that's required of you, but what I'm saying is you're not going to have to prove to God that you're worthy of receiving what God has for you or what you need from him. It's God who deems you worthy, right? Just like, again, I keep going back to this analogy, like with, a mother and its baby. You don't, the baby's crying. You're not going to withhold the bottle from the baby and make the baby work for the bottle. And no, that is a baby. That's your baby. So you're going to feed your baby, right? We know that anything that we need from God, he's going to open up his hand generously and give it to us because we're his children. And he's chosen us. Okay, the scripture says before the foundations of this earth, he's already called us. And so we don't have to prove ourselves to God. It's him who makes us worthy to receive what it is that we need. So we should boldly go in prayer. We should ask with thanksgiving, like the scripture says, and wait in faith, knowing that God will provide, and his character is not like the people in your life that have the resources or can help you, but only on conditions. That's not God. God will give you what you need unconditionally. God is generous. God is loving, and he can and will provide for you and all of your needs.